That's what monks do all the time. Looking in and exploring our mind. It's fascinating what you find in there. It's also very, very beautiful and very freeing. Some years ago, this 14-year-old girl came to me. She wanted some counselling. You know one of the reasons why they come to Buddhist monks for counselling? Because we're cheap. And they came to me for counselling, and she said her father said she'd been to many other psychologists, psychiatrists, and no one could help her. So she came up to me. She was obviously very embarrassed and very shy, and so eventually I asked her, "What's the problem? Come, what's the problem?" This little 14-year-old girl said, "My problem is my nose is too big." That was her problem. She had too big a nose. So she thought. And I decided, I was only a young monk at this time, I decided to be a scientist. I didn't actually touch the nose or get a ruler out, but I mentally measured her nose and actually said, well, actually your nose is actually quite average. It's not the most beautiful nose in the world, but it's certainly not the most ugly. It's just a normal nose, it's an average nose. What do you expect? It's just a nose, that's all. It didn't help her at all. Because she'd exaggerated it, and because she'd exaggerated it, became this huge nose. When I was a young monk in Thailand, sometimes you'd be out in the jungle meditating. And in that jungle there were these big animals, man-eating animals, tigers and elephants. And you knew that these animals were around, but there's also small animals as well. It happens so often. You close your eyes to meditate and you'd hear the sound of one of the animals coming towards you. And you think, is this a big one or a small one? If it's a small one, you just carry on meditating. And as it was coming closer, you realised that this was not a small animal. You were listening carefully, you were checking your ears and your mind. And as it came really close, you think, my goodness, if it is a tiger, it's a huge one. And that's what it sounded like. No way in the world could it have been a small animal. And so you opened up your eyes in fear. And there was this tiny mouse. It wasn't even a big mouse, it was a tiny one. And it happened so often, and you wonder why it was that the little tiny mouse, making a small noise, why my mind thought it was a big tiger or an elephant. It actually sounded like an elephant, because the mind exaggerated it, and made it feel like an elephant, make it sound like an elephant. Like that little nose that poor girl had. Her mind exaggerated it, so to her it was this huge nose. Why a problem we have in life becomes this huge problem, because our mind exaggerates. Why 2 bad bricks become the whole wall. This is the psychology of life, which when we learn how to train our minds, just not like Shaolin monks, we just train our minds to be like wise, to be rational, to be able to train our perception to be accurate to the truth rather than exaggerating things. Then we become far more free in life. We don't worry so much. Don't you worry about small things? Tiny things? Afraid of small things and tiny things? This is the way the mind exaggerates. This is why Buddhist psychology has become so... it was always so profound. It's now being discovered by psychologists and psychiatrists in Europe and in the United States. It works so well that many people. I just was talking to one of the monks just before I left, apparently in Harvard. Saw these professors and holders of chairs of psychology who are all really into Buddhist psychology now. Simply because it knows the mind so well, always has done, and just knows how to deal with the problems of life through training the mind.